Relationships reveal people more clearly than almost anything else. The way individuals love, communicate, fight, distance themselves, or reconnect often exposes their emotional patterns, insecurities, and unmet needs. Difficult periods, stress, isolation, disappointment, or uncertainty tend to uncover what daily routines normally hide: resentment, emotional gaps, dependency, or in stronger bonds, trust, resilience, and genuine intimacy. Modern relationships also face pressures that intensify emotional strain: burnout, constant digital distraction, fear of vulnerability, unrealistic fantasies, and the ongoing struggle between independence and closeness. Many people long for deep connection while simultaneously fearing the honesty and emotional exposure real intimacy demands. This discussion that we'll be doing explores the emotional dynamics behind love, conflict, attraction, betrayal, communication, and long-term connection, and why the conversations people avoid are often the very ones that determine whether a relationship grows stronger or slowly falls apart. Hello all, I'm Renee, and welcome to yet another podcast. Today, Michaela won't be joining me, but we're going to delve into, relationships, human connections, high stress situations, and so forth. So I'm going to begin. Have a good listen. The influence of human communication on our well-being. The quality of the relationships people maintain often shapes the quality of their emotional lives. Healthy connections can provide comfort, brilliance, stayingness, if you will, stability, and a sense of belonging. While on the flip side, unhealthy or emotionally draining relationships can slowly affect confidence, peace of mind, and even physical health. Genuine connection is not simply a luxury in life. For many people, it becomes one of the strongest predictors of long-term happiness and fulfillment. Or, well, if we're a little more realistic, content, long-term, being content, right? Because happiness, it's not a constant. I would rather say being content, but still, okay, long-term happiness, meaning being content, and fulfillment, you've realized something, or, some project, you've realized a relationship, a romantic relationship, and you're living it properly as best you can. And this is where we have to think about navigating relationships in general. But, all relationships go through stages or moments. And navigating them in high stress situations, well, that's a tough call. But it happens. Stress often changes the way people communicate and react to one another. During emotionally difficult periods, misunderstandings can escalate faster. Patience can shrink, and defensiveness may replace empathy. Strong relationships are not defined by the absence of conflict, but by the ability to remain emotionally aware, listen carefully, and manage tension without without turning every single disagreement into emotional warfare. And it is, it doesn't only apply to romantic relationships, any relationships. When there is high stress, people can make tremendous mistakes. The mouth might take us in a direction that we really didn't want to go. But coming from hurt, and that sometimes a hurt heart doesn't listen to a clear mind. And so sometimes we screw up. Or, I'm going to use an expression here, we might continue to beat a dead horse if the relationship ends. So high stress is something to really take a step back and look at properly and say, okay, I'm very stressed. I really don't want to be dealing with anybody unless I absolutely have to. And my moods are not the best right now. So I'm going to tell my partner to let me have my space for a bit. And if they understand, they will give me that space, and vice versa. Because if you're high stressed and the other person might be a little bit sensitive or whatever, a situation where there was high stress on your end or on their end or on both ends can turn into an atomic bomb. And really, the best thing to do is not reach that and not latch on to arguments that will fizzle within minutes. Unfounded arguments, things that trivialities, in fact. But many a relationship has gone down the tubes due to high stress and due to mistakes that are made, whether they be a rude mouth or slipping up and being unfaithful, or sadly even physical violence. So yeah, it's really important to learn not to turn every disagreement into warfare. Now, I spoke of space earlier. Yeah, redefining space needs expectations. Maybe you're not in a high stress situation at this point, but there might be a bit of uncertainty, Uncertain times frequently require people to reevaluate what they expect from themselves and from others. Emotional boundaries, personal independence, and the need for solitude, can become increasingly important when daily routines are changed dramatically, right? So it's a question of really not, again, becoming obsessed with certain situations, right? And by this I mean, your fence when you need it, your picket fence around your spirit, if you will, drawing the line, and also not having ridiculous expectations of, for example, meeting Prince Charming and expecting that Prince Charming to be that way 24/7. And vice versa. So yeah, it's important to redefine needs. You know, I mean, being on top of each other, you know, trying to maintain closeness does not really mean constant access to one another. And so, yeah, you know, oh, hey, I want to go cycling. Oh, me too. Okay, fine. I want to go to the movies. Me too. Are you tired? No. Well, I'm going to have a nap. Okay, me too. Oh, I want to have a glass of wine. Me too, but you have a presentation in the morning. Oh, no, but I can do it. Oh, God, I'm so stressed. I need to go for a walk. Oh, let me come with you. No, I really need to be alone for a bit. No, I'll come with you. It's fine. Etc., etc. And these two people that I'm acting this, you know, one of them, it's really obvious that they need their space, and the other one is just not listening, is not picking up the signs. It's not clocking in. And that can get very tiring. You know, sometimes you just need your space, and vice versa. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't ever have space with your partner, chances are you'll either get bored or it'll turn into a high stress sort of relationship. A tiring one. And relationships are challenging already. Why add fuel to the fire, you know? Learn to be able to disconnect from each other for the time needed. I'm not talking about going and living in different homes or anything like that. Just breathing space. And also regarding expectations, again, if you you might be, I don't know, you might be blown away by someone, especially when you're young. But you must know that there's no such thing as perfection. So don't expect that person to come off as just the most ideal individual you'll ever come across. Don't glorify them. Don't disrespect them either, but just keep your feet on the ground and just learn to observe without glorifying the person, or vice versa. I mean, a person might glorify you. Again, we're all fallible, but there are ways of going about that. Now, there is another situation which is really hard to deal with, and I can share with you guys, recently I really had to get past this one, but you gotta go with your instinct. And it's up to you how you heal in a way, and I'll get into that too. But the pain of unequal emotional investment, that is a hard one, guys. Relationships become deeply frustrating when one person continues making efforts to communicate, repair, or reconnect, while the other gradually shuts down emotionally. Over time, the imbalance creates resentment, loneliness, and yes, emotional fatigue. A relationship cannot survive on the dedication of one person alone. Mutual participation is necessary for trust and intimacy to remain alive. And this is a huge one, guys, because it's exactly that. Again, nobody's a robot. Nobody can constantly give affection 24/7. We're human. Sometimes we need our space. But at the same time, in situations that might be high stress, maybe not in terms of emotional connection, but rather financially, the one person says, okay, we're going to be okay. I'm going to take on an extra job. How about you? I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. Right there, that's an example of where's the teamwork. I mean, there you are trying to help solve the problem, and the other person is nonchalant or indifferent about it. When you're both under the same roof. That's one example. Another one is you start dating and you're into each other for a while. And then your partner starts hanging out with a friend of the same gender. But this friend has different interests and he kind of influences your partner. And this starts to really surface in your partner. Things such as, hey, let's go out on a date. Like maybe you're not living together. Let's go out on a date. Oh yeah, when? Friday, 8 o'clock. Okay. And then Friday comes around at 8 o'clock. And I mean, you haven't heard from this person that you've been dating for a while. And you're like, and well, you're human. You decide to text the person, hey, we said last Tuesday that we were going to go out somewhere. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to text you. I've been really busy at work, and you know what? My friend, this negative friend, if you will, really needs my help right now. And you're like, yeah, but we had a plan. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to help him, and then I promise you I'll come round to see you. And you take it. Again, you should have stopped it right there. No, you accept it. And then, it was 8 o'clock, so you wait, let's say 3 hours. Some people wait more. Never shows up, never sends a text message. And you just feel like crap. Because you realize right then and there that you are investing a lot more in this relationship than the other person. And you have one of two choices. You can either continue to accept the obvious, or you can begin to detach. I'm not going to say immediately detach because most people can't do that. But begin to see what is there. He, your partner, made his friend a priority. That's it. Obviously, some people are going to get very upset over a thing like this, myself included. And this is where we must learn to see things and remove ourselves from situations so that we don't suffer any further. It's hard, guys. But if you see these signs, let's say you go through three experiences like what I just mentioned, one after the other. Guys, this is an unequal emotion, a case of unequal emotional investment. So the best thing you can do is get out of it. And it's tough, but trust me, months later, you're gonna feel better about yourself, because you're gonna know that you loved yourself first. And it's hard. I mean, some people might find this selfish, but you're protecting yourself. I know so many people that follow the trail of, oh, but he'll come back. he'll change, and, or she'll change. Well, once they're like that, it's very hard for people to really, really change. So that's why you have to catch the signs as early on as possible. Now, sometimes you're okay, I'm saying sometimes, I mean, depending on the situation, you can be okay with someone, have nice, light conversations about what you're going to do on the weekend, or hanging out with friends, or maybe even seeing relatives, What are we going to eat tonight? Let's cook together, that sort of thing. Very nice, right? But there are times when you do need to have a deep conversation with your partner. And that's not as easy as it sounds. It takes time. So, creating deeper conversations between you and your partner, well, I mean, you really have to think about how it comes about. And meaningful connection rarely develops through, as I said earlier, well, I didn't say that, but I meant it, surface level exchanges alone. Again, oh, honey, oh, let's cook together. Okay. Oh, honey, how about we watch a scary movie? Hey, great. Hey, great. Let's go to the gym. Okay. There's absolute peace. But something in the relationship is missing, and either you or your partner are not expressing things. For example, a thing as simple as, if you're living together, in the middle of the night, the guy goes to the bathroom, leaves the toilet seat up, and then you don't know that, and you go to the bathroom in the dark and fall right into the toilet bowl. And it's really annoying, right? And then he does other things, he I don't know, blasts the music when you've just gotten home from work. He'll watch his programs, and you guys only have one screen, et cetera, but you don't mention any of your discomfort in order to preserve the relationship. You want to keep them happy forever. Well, guys, this is where you need to have a meaningful conversation, a deep conversation about, hey, you know what? I love living with you, but we got to establish, again, some boundaries, some rules that are not illogical. Yes? You can't keep living off fluff. So, trying to encourage some vulnerability, like sitting down with your partner and saying, okay, I think we should have a talk. I mean, your partner might cringe because it sounds a little scary, right? Oh, we should have a talk? What? Yeah, we got to move beyond the routine. Let's just have a nice small talk, and you make a nice drink or for him and for you, and you tell him, I think we have to touch more honest emotional territory. I mean, he or she might, as I said earlier, cringe, but if they really care for you, they're going to say, okay, go ahead, tell me. And you tell them, you tell me as well. And you listen, or he listens to you, or you listen to him. But when they're talking, or you're talking, the other should not be talking, so that you can really listen thoughtfully. Because if you're both talking at the same time, that cancels the whole purpose of the chat in the first place. People have to learn how to listen, including yourselves. Many people don't listen, and then what happens is complete miscommunication. When you listen, you develop curiosity and even openness, and vice versa. And when you listen and the other person feels okay in revealing his or her vulnerabilities, I don't know, you reach another tier. Like, I'm not talking about crying tears, another level, which is far deeper than the fluffy duffy castle in the clouds lemon meringue conversation. So yeah, guys, it's important to say, hey, we gotta have a chat now. No, this is not a fight. This is about us coming together and finding out how we can listen to each other and improve our relationship, even if it's already good. Genuinely. And during those conversations, well, you develop the power of asking meaningful questions. If the person's a good listener and vice versa, well, there's a power there. You can get into much more meaningful queries. Sorry, I hope I'm questions. Yes. The quality of a conversation often depends on the quality, yes, of the questions being asked. Shallow questions tend to produce repetitive, uninspired interactions, while thoughtful ones invite reflection, honesty, and emotional depth. People frequently appear boring, not because they lack complexity, but because nobody asks them anything meaningful enough to reveal it. So yeah, I mean, if you say, do you like this shirt? For your guy, for your partner, or do you like this shirt on me? I mean, okay, you could, those are daily questions. How do you like the food? Oh, it's okay, yeah. How was your day? Okay, how was your day isn't that bad, but usually people say, oh, good. Not so good. You got to figure out another way. So, do you have a lot of work to work on this evening? Did you have any meetings during the day? Even making your questions a little more curious. Well, yes, I met with Mr. Bennett, and we still owe about $1 million in goods. Oh, wow. Yeah, and then the person starts opening up. And the nice thing is that when they're done saying that, they might ask you, well, hopefully they will. So how was your day at work? How was it? Are you okay? Yeah, it went fine, thank you. I mean, I managed to close a deal. I mean, I'm just making this stuff. But the interest is shown. They're not fluffy duff questions like, how was your day? Good. How was your day? And that's where the conversation ends. No. If you see your partner looking, downtrodden, yeah, you give them their space, but if you sense that they need to be, not questioned, I don't want to put it that way, but that they need some emotional support, you're not going to be like, oh, I'll give him a space and that's it. No, you give him a bit of space, and then you get close to them. Yes, Mr. Cat. You get close to them, and you ask them, hey, is everything okay? And if they trust you, enough, they'll reveal what's getting to them. Or if they see you anxious, they're not going to be like, oh, well, she'll go to the gym and get rid of that anxiety. No, he or she will, come close to you and ask, hey, why are you so stressed? Being able to read the body language, knowing the timing, it's very delicate, but if you know your partner pretty well, you can try that. If they shut down right then and there, like, I don't want to talk about it, hey, you don't push it. You don't push it until they come back to you maybe after a day or two and say, okay, I want to tell you something. This, that, right? So it's the timing of the questions as well. How meaningful they are and their timing. Because if your grandmother just died and the guy comes up to you and says, are you okay? You want to hang out? How did she die? And you just don't want to even talk. And this person is bugging you. Well, that's not considerate. And it becomes shallow, more about, oh, let me hear the gossip. So it's how meaningful the questions are and what the timing is. Now, we did mention difficult conversations. Well, we have to have them now and then because not everything is placed on a bed of roses. I mean, topics such as money, intimacy, morality, and personal fears are uncomfortable for many couples, yet avoiding them often creates even greater emotional distance. Honest discussions about sensitive subjects help build trust, clarity, and emotional safety. Relationships tend to weaken when difficult conversations are postponed indefinitely or treated as either taboo or just something fluffy. I'm going to give you guys an example. I knew a couple. I say knew because one of them has passed. This couple, they were both very light people in a good way. They really didn't like conflict. However, he never really landed a solid job. And his wife knew this. He would tell her things like, oh, we're going to move to another country. I promise you that we're going to be financially okay. And in the meantime, she was working the whole time. And he'd go from one job to another. He was financially unstable because he couldn't hold down a job. And this stressed her out. But do you think she ever sat down with him and had a serious conversation about it? No, she didn't. She went with it and even was unfaithful to him in order to get over the stress. It was a way of release. I'm not justifying it, that's wrong. But at the same time, I feel all that happened because she and he never sat down to discuss real finances. And in Spanish we have a saying that goes like this. Love comes in through the main door and leaves through the back window. Meaning you can't just live on love, guys. All right? Love consists of everything, not just, and I'm not saying, love somebody with lots of money. No. I'm talking about responsibility. And these difficult conversations one has to have. I mean, it can be money, as I just said. In the case of this couple, it can be intimacy. You have couples that have been together for 40 years, or 30 or 40 years, and they look all jolly and happy. but you don't know the real story. They maintain an image, and they genuinely love each other, but he's lost interest in her physique because she's gotten older. This is not fair. It can happen the other way as well. You know, in this case, he loved her, loved presenting her as his wife, and yet he was cheating the whole time and thought she never knew about it. Well, she probably did. And then in another case, there was this young couple, I'd say early 30s. He had put on a bit of weight, which happens. Our bodies change depending on our health, on our routines, hormones, yada, yada, yada. And she started cheating on him with the pool man, kind of like Chad, if you guys know who that is. Okay? And he discovered her, and he actually forgave her, or so he says. But what I'm getting at in both cases, you know, they didn't have difficult conversations. In the first case, you know, the man was no longer attracted to his partner, but never told her anything. I mean, you say it with tact, of course. So he simply cheated on her. And in the other case, the woman had lost interest, I think because she wasn't seeing him, and she saw the pool man more often. And she felt like one of those golf wives, you know, the ones that, nothing against golf, but, you know, the ones that are waiting for their husbands who went to go play golf and they feel abandoned. And so she found comfort in the arms of the pool man, right? Both cases are wrong. And they both could have probably have been avoided if a difficult conversation had been had. It's as simple as that. Now, as we, you know, close, I want to tell you guys, I say it from the bottom of my heart. When you want to find love, I don't even like saying find love. Just be touched by romantic love. You have to be, or you have to have emotional clarity. Okay? And yes, I'd say most of us have fallen into the traps of us focusing heavily on chemistry, attraction, or excitement, the butterflies in the stomach. And that clouds vision. And we overlook emotional compatibility and self-awareness. And it's happened to everybody and their grandmother. Because we want to feel that rush. Entering a relationship with unrealistic fantasies or emotional desperation, as I said earlier, can cloud judgment. And truly, healthier connections usually emerge when people understand their own emotional patterns and approach dating with openness rather than idealized expectations. Great expectations, you know, and this leads me to something else. A lot of us, because we feel that intensity, those butterflies, the roller coaster in our hearts, roller coaster in terms of excitement, we confuse emotional intensity with genuine love. Again, powerful attraction, obsession, emotional highs can sometimes be mistaken for deep love. In reality, some relationships are fueled more by fantasy or projection or even loneliness or emotional dependency than true compatibility. Over time, once the emotional intensity fades, many realize they were attracted to an illusion rather than genuinely connected to the other person. You know, you can say the world about a person and think you have a lot in common even because you feel this attraction. But there will come a point where you won't have anything to say to each other if it's just built off attraction and good sex. When you can't even speak the same language. You know, I have nothing against that, but I mean, it is nice when the two people are able to speak the same language, and if they speak other languages, okay, but if there's not even that, it's difficult to communicate, right? And just falling into the romance of, oh, he's after me, he really likes me, we have incredible chemistry, but then he suddenly decides to hang out with his buddies on the golf course, leaves you there on Saturday afternoon, and you're like, okay, are we? And you can, of course, he's allowed to have his hobbies, and so are you. But you know, then that happens several times where you don't see each other for quite a while. Well, he's losing interest because the magic of the new sex and that, he still enjoys it, or she still enjoys it, but he or she now knows what to expect, right? So it doesn't last.
Looking for real conversations about love, connection, and everything in between? Listen to Love Hacks. Honest, heartfelt, and in 4 languages: English, Espanol, Francais, and Portuguese. Find your version wherever you get your podcast. See you soon.
Now, there are also deeper reasons why relationships collapse. Most relationships do not end because of a single argument or isolated mistake. Emotional breakdown usually develops gradually through neglect. Okay, here we go with what I just said. So neglect, resentment, poor communication, unmet emotional needs, or the slow erosion of trust. The visible conflict is often only the surface expression of deeper emotional disconnection that has existed for much longer. So yeah, if he's leaving his girlfriend to go hang out with his buddies every Saturday, and I'm not saying he's going to cheat, he's going to play golf, but no interest in what his girlfriend's going to be doing or his wife's going to, yeah, things start to crumble. It's that lack of finding common ground, of saying, hey, I know you got your life, I've got mine, but because we're a couple, we should establish fixed times to see each other. That's if you're not living together. And if you are living together, again, don't be on top of one another the whole time, but have, one guy just told me, yeah, I had these tickets to a concert, and actually the guy's married, and I was like, should I sell the ticket or whatever, because my wife doesn't really like this singer. But then I said, nah, I'm going to tell my wife, let's go together. And the wife at first said, oh, honey, I really don't like that singer. It's not that I don't like him, I'm not into him. Oh, come on, let's go. You're going to have a lot of fun. So the wife gave in and said, okay, I'll go with you. The outcome, she went with her husband, and they had a wonderful time. And the next day, the wife told her spouse, you know what, darling, I really didn't want to go, but thank you for taking me. I had a blast. See? Out of resistance came, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'm going to be open. And a magical moment happened, right? That's how you keep relationships going too. Even if you don't like what the other person likes completely, I mean, you got to give him or her a chance and vice versa. Not shoot down, for example, oh, I want to go to this soccer game. Want to come? No, I hate soccer. I'd rather go to a movie. Oh, but this is a Champions League game. I don't care. I really don't like it. Go with your friend. That sort of behavior is a complete turnoff. Right? Oh, now I'm getting into a big one. And that's emotional impact, betrayal, and infidelity. And this is one of the worst ones. Experiences involving betrayal can leave lasting emotional consequences, affecting trust, self-worth, and a person's ability to feel emotionally safe. Infidelity is rarely experienced as only as physical betrayal. For many people, it disrupts their sense of reality, security, and identity within the relationship. Healing from betrayal often requires rebuilding emotional honesty, whether the relationship survives or not. So these people who say, oh no, she never found out, or, you know, she did find out, but we continued. That person that found out, and most people do, experiences hell, in my opinion. It's nonsense saying, oh, well, we have a right to slide. No. Not if you're in a relationship. If you're going to be like that, and I've said it many times, then say, you know what? I don't want to be in a relationship. Don't agree to something where the person is clear and says, you know, you can have your life. You're a busy person. I'm a busy person. But I do demand sexual fidelity. And if you say yes to that, if you say, I agree, then you're saying yes to that. You don't come up later on with, well, you know, if I slide, and it's like, what? And then the person says, well, what if I slide? Oh, it's fine. No, that's bullshit. Because you set the boundaries from the beginning. So if I slide, now, if you're polyamorous and the other person is too, be my guest. You guys know how that works. But most of the time, people only want, when they're in a relationship, they only want the one person. It's because when you sleep around with 50,000 people and you have I'm exaggerating, that's terrible. Let's say when you sleep around and you have a relationship where that other party, that other person is being faithful and you're sleeping around, what you're doing is you're removing the value of the relationship and canceling out emotions subconsciously. The other way, it's the same the other way around. Okay, if you've decided that you're going to have even if it's a light relationship, but the sex is about being faithful, and the affection is about, like, you're not one of these people who wants to trap a person. You're not out to get married or anything, but you have your heart or your thoughts, and you also think about diseases, and you make this clear, and the person agrees to it, then that should be respected. It's different if the person openly says, you know what, I really like you, but I want something else. Okay. Then you're like, you know what? Okay, I can't change the way you think, but thank you for being honest. Thank you for telling me, you know what, I do want to be sleeping around. So we can't have this relationship because you want one thing and I want another. You see the difference? Honesty is best. Even if it hurts a little, it's better to go through that than to have somebody agree to sexual fidelity, and then next thing you know, the person is taking a bunch of women somewhere, etc., etc. So, I mean, or a bunch of men. It could go the other way, right? And because of this, I mean, this is one of the main cases that can lead you to deciding whether to stay or walk away. Other situations can too, like the financial situation or the emotional situation. Let's say this person is overly attached to their families, to their family, and doesn't give you the time you deserve, etc. So deciding that is one of the hardest decisions, meaning determining whether difficulties can realistically be repaired or whether the connection has become emotionally damaging. Some relationships deserve patience, growth, and renewed effort, while others continue to deteriorate despite repeated attempts to save them. Knowing the difference requires honesty. There's that word again, honesty. Emotional maturity, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. So there's a couple of more things I want to mention. You have to ask, when in a relationship, you have to ask yourself questions about growth, meaning, and perspective. So closing reflections, focused on broader ideas surrounding your personal development could be one. You should also ask yourself about your emotional wisdom, about how fulfilled you feel, and what lessons have you learned while being in the relationship you're in. When you ask yourself these questions, questions based on what I just mentioned, you're encouraging a deeper examination of your own personal values, and if your partner is willing to do so, they will do the same in order to reach long-term emotional goals. Well, yeah, I mean, how much are you learning in this relationship as a person, right? I'm simplifying it, it's like, okay, how much have you learned? Or have you spent your whole time feeling jealous? Have you spent a lot of time crying? Or have you simply spent a lot of time without this person? Right? Obviously, there are situations like if the person gets sent to, I don't know, Estonia or something for some job project, well, what are you going to do there, right? I mean, you guys commit to each other and just keep in touch until he comes back, right? Because it's not a permanent project, right? But most of the time you have to, sit back and say, well, I mean, why am I always insecure with this person? Why do I notice every time he checks out? And it's not obsessing, it just happens. And he's always talking about other women from his past and checking out women, and that's when the jealousy hits in. And it's like, I'm not at peace with this person because they're always talking about other women. And there are men like that. And women like that too. Constantly talking about it. And there comes a point where you're like, well, I mean, what are we doing? That's one. And then the other one, the guys who promise, or women who promise a bunch of things. And you know what? In 2 years, while we're together, in 2 years, we'll be owning our own house and we're going to be doing fine financially. And then it turns out to be the complete opposite. And then there are those who, want to go back to their parents, you included. Oh, you know what? Maybe we can save a buck or two living with my parents. And you have no couple space anymore. I mean, in that case, I'd say, well, okay, don't live together. You live in your space and he lives in his until you're able to join forces or not. Maybe you enjoy living like that and just dating each other and being faithful. That could be a happy recipe, if you will. And well, guys, I'm about to close, and I thank you for listening, but here's what I would call what truly fulfilled people often share. And that's people who appear genuinely content and emotionally grounded often share certain qualities, purpose, self-awareness, meaningful relationships, not just the romantic one, but with their peers, with their families, and inner stability. Their happiness usually seems less connected to status or perfection and more connected to authenticity, emotional balance, and living in alignment with what genuinely matters to them. And that's really important because a lot of people, like the Flanders, live for society. Flanders of The Simpsons. Oh, perfect little life, perfect this, I do know some people like that. The kids are perfect, or so they think, because maybe internally, and that's a different kettle of fish. I'm not going to get into that, but it's really not about your status. It's about your genuineness, your authenticity, and how well you get along with your partner. Because at the end of the day, you're a team, or you're trying to be a team. Anyhows, guys, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week, and take care of yourselves. Bye.
If this episode resonated with you, make sure to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.